Hey, happy Tuesday afternoon, everybody. This is Sports Fanatic News. I'm Joe Boric, and this is just going to be a video about all things Philadelphia sports. Well, the Eagles have promoted Mike Groh, our wide receivers coach, to be next year's offensive coordinator. Granted, like the article said, this is much of just a symbolic position for the Eagles since Doug Peterson is a very offensive-minded coach and only goes to the coordinators of his offense, like the running backs coach Deuce Staley and the main offensive coordinator, for tips or suggestions. He makes the final call. But it's a promotion from Mike Groh to wide receivers coach. He did very well last year at that position. We moved up from in the bottom of the NFL in terms of wide receiver statistics to in the top 15 last year. So he deserved the promotion to be wide receivers coach. And then Deuce Staley got a minor promotion himself too. He got promoted to be assistant coach, also slash running backs coach. So 2 promotions for 2 guys that have been very good so far as they've been in an organization. 2 guys that Doug Peterson has said many great things about and has great respect for. So they are very deserving of those promotions. Now, moving on to the Phillies. The Phillies are apparently in discussions with Jake Arrieta, who is the best starting pitcher remaining on the free agent market. And the only reason he's probably remaining on the market is because he asked for too much length in his contract originally and probably a little bit too much money for his age. If we can get him for 2 to 3 years, I think it would be a great deal. And then maybe you put a vesting option on the next year, meaning he has to meet certain contingencies in order to get that 3rd year if it's a 2-year deal, or 4th year if it's a 3-year deal. Because Jake Arrieta, 5 or 6 years is going to be a little tough for me to consider it a great deal, unless if we have a club opt out after like the 4th year. So I think you have to go 3 years, and if it's a 4th year, it has to be an option that favors us and not Arrieta, just in case he's struggling. He's obviously going to take the money then. But he's a good pitcher. He's a pitcher that would definitely help our staff and definitely solidify the top of our rotation with him and Aaron Nola holding down the reins there. I still think the Phillies would do good by getting a lefty at some point, because it's always good to mix up your rotation and have one lefty in there. Especially if you do make the postseason and you get in a series, it's good to have a mix-up in the rotation. Maybe they will look to that if we make a run and we want to have that mix-up and we're in contention at the trade deadline. Maybe they will look for that. But for now, the Phillies are in discussions with Arrieta. They think they're going to definitely take a big step forward this year with Kapler, a manager, and with signing Carlos Santana, who adds a lot of discipline, and he is going to be Maikel Franco's mentor, who is in the final year of his current deal. So this is his make-or-break year, and Santana said they're going to work day in and day out every day, and he's going to help him. And let's remember, Santana did start as a 3rd baseman in the MLB, so he has experience at the hot corner where Maikel Franco plays as well, and he just is going to give him the experience he has from struggling at times earlier in his career with striking out or having a lower batting average than he would like. And then now look where Santana is now. He's led the league in walks last year, and I believe the year before as well. He's a very disciplined hitter, and his discipline has helped him to become even better at hitting the amount of home runs he hits and the amount of RBIs, because he gets in great counts and sees great pitches, and that's what he's going to hopefully help Maikel Franco to do. Now, moving on to the Flyers, who do have a game tonight. I'll post a video about that in a little bit. They traded for goalie Peter Mrazek from the Detroit Red Wings for conditional picks. I think this was a good move because Mrazek is only 26, and if he does well, then that's great, because we have a young 26-year-old goaltender that we can extend and probably have be our goaltender for a couple years till at least when Carter Hart or Felix Sandstrom are ready. Or that's the middle scenario. The worst case scenario is Mrazek doesn't pan out, and then the only thing Detroit gets is a fourth because of the conditions. If he doesn't do anything and doesn't pan out at all for the Flyers, then they only get a fourth. If Mrazek pans out and we re-sign him after this year, those picks become a second, so they get a second-round pick. But obviously, if Mrazek does very well during these next month or a week, about 5 weeks, because Elliott will probably still be out for about 5, and the waivers timetable is about 5. So for about the next 5 weeks, if Mrazek does very well, you're probably going to keep him in and going strong for a while and have Neuwirth and Elliott be the backups, because fortunately after the deadline, the NHL as a rule, you can have as amount of goalie on your roster as you want. So that's nice. And Lyon would then probably be sent back to the minors. Anthony Stolarz, good news for the Flyers too, has been activated from the injury list, and he's playing. He's going to start playing for AAA Lehigh Valley whenever he is ready to start down there. So that is some good news to get that big goaltender back that showed signs of moving forward last year, and showed signs of developing and improving, and that he could be an NHL backup already, most likely. But for now, we're going to have Lyon as our backup. He showed very good signs last game, and there's a chance he might play this game, being Mrazek just got here. But I think it would be wise to have the Flyers start Mrazek, unless if he's just really not in sync with the defenseman, or they really just don't want to throw him into a game right away, because all these games at this point in time are games we want to have the best chance to win, and you need to try to win, especially against the Canadiens, who are a struggling team this year but still have a Class A goaltender. So you got to be able to match him, and Mrazek's better to do that than Lyon. But Lyon did show great steps last game, and that's a great thing to see, because it's always good. The best position to have depth at is probably goaltending, because be all and end all, if your defense is struggling, the only guy that can save you is the goaltender. Now, for some Sixers news, obviously Joel Embiid and then Ben Simmons and Saric and the Rising Stars had a great time on All-Star Weekend. Obviously LeBron got the MVP. Joel did the great spin move in the Rising Stars game. But for those guys, it's all about getting back down to business on Thursday. And I think for this team, the All-Star break was very good, and it was a very good rest for a lot of our players, and we're going to be able to hit the ground running and really keep going in the right direction in the second half of the season, and Marco Bellinelli will continue to gel more and more into our offense and become a very productive person off the bench more and more, as he already has been, as the season continues. The future is bright for the Sixers, but the present is also pretty bright. I'm not saying we're going to go far lengths in the playoff, but it's a huge accomplishment to fight and also fight the team we play in the playoffs and play a very good series, because I think we're going to get there, and when we get there, to put up a fight, which I think we will make it a good series, is a very accomplishment for where we were at last year. And there's also been an article about how people think Ben Simmons will be one of the best players in the league plus 5 years from now. So that is something that's going to be interesting to see his development as time goes on. And then to close this video, just an interesting factoid. 10 years ago of the day, yesterday, Claude Giroux played his first game in the NHL per an emergency call-up. A lot of people that believe in superstitions and signs from the universe think because Oscar Lindblom was called up today in somewhat of an emergency call-up situation because Simmons went down for the next couple weeks, that this is a sign that Lindblom's going to be the next star for the next coming years to join Travis Konecny, who's emerging this year, Patrick, when he hits his emergence, which I know he will, and the other veterans in Giroux, Voracek, and Simmer when he comes back. If Lindblom does well in these next few weeks, I agree with people. I don't think there's a chance he's going to be sent back down, but I also don't know. We haven't seen him in the NHL yet, and I'm not ready to say he's going to blow our socks off. I think he's going to do good these next couple weeks, but I think Donick Martel also did pretty good when he was up for those few games, and we sent him back down. So we sometimes are overly patient with these guys, I think. It's for some guys, but we got to eventually just give them a chance. If they're playing decent, if they don't do good one game, don't send them back down after that one game like we did with Martel. So this has just been a video on all things Philadelphia sports. If the Phillies get Jake Arrieta, that makes them even more of a consideration to possibly leapfrog into a wild card spot this year, which I think they will do, honestly, if they get Arrieta with certainty. If they don't, I think they still have a good chance. Well, this has been a video on all things Philly sports. This is Sports Fanatic News. I'm Joe Boric. Have a great day. Peace out, everybody.